Hey folks, welcome back to the Portable Gamer, welcome back to Farming Simulator 2017, and welcome back to Thornbrook Farm. So I went ahead and sped through the night. It has been an extremely interesting and exciting and productive, 12 hours of game time on the map. Real time. I don't know, it's been a week or so. I've done a lot of stuff off camera. Let's get going. That's pretty loud. Pretty loud. So, one thing I can tell you, in fact, we'll go over here, make it easier. I didn't even notice this down here. We own field 5, so we need to get this plowed under. I threw some fertilizer on it, and let's get this started because this is going to take the longest, I think. How do we want to do this? Let's take the brake off, and let's back up. And then we can get course play programmed, and we'll get this started. And it's going to take the longest, even though it's a relatively small field, it's going to take the longest of all of our evolutions today because, for one thing, our plow is so narrow. And for another thing, because this field is small, it's going to have a lot of turns in it for this big old tractor. So, set the brake. There's course play, and this is field 5. Just confirming. Field 5, right? There's field 5, like so. Let's do 3 headlands because it is kind of an odd shaped field. So we tell it to generate a course. It does. We still have our offset in here. We still have our offset. Fantastic. We go back here. Where's our start point? Over there. Close enough. So let's get this going. And yeah, now the reason I found this field, it's a funny story. It's always a funny story. The reason I found this field is, well, all in good time. I'll tell you when we get there. I don't want to ruin the surprise. Me and my surprises, yo. So it is, what is today? Today is Wednesday here, where I am. You're going to see this on Thursday, as always. And we are just about 2 weeks away from Farm Sim 19. I'm excited, man. I really, really am. Curious. Got a little bit of anxiety. Not in a crazy way. Like so. And we'll give it just a second to make sure everything is working properly. Get rid of that. I know there's a possibility. I mean, we all remember Umbrella Corp. Sometimes game developers just straight up drop the ball. So I know there's a possibility that Farm Sim 19 is really not going to live up to expectations. And I'm sort of preparing myself for that. And I guess the weird part is thinking of the transition, at least for me, from Farm Sim 15 to Farm Sim 17. I think they're rolling. Very cool. Okay, so that is that. For me, the transition from Farm Sim 15 to Farm Sim 17. Now, I had only been sim farming for about 6 months when 17 came out. And I have to say, in hindsight, thinking back to how I was farming on FS17, I mean, from one perspective, I was just sandboxing it. And from another perspective, let me get my torch on here. From one perspective, I was sandboxing it. From another perspective, I was learning how to sim farm. And like a lot of people, I just jump into things. That's how I learn. And that's the best way and the most fun way for me to learn is just to experiment and screw up. So I didn't know what I was doing as far as the size of tractors or what was appropriate, what was realistic, and I'm still not 100% on that stuff. And then even when I am, and this is funny, even when I do know 100% like what's realistic or what would be realistic, I don't always go with that because that's not always, I don't want to say fun, but yeah, fun. And right about in here. Got to crawl under the hedge. It's not always fun, and that's okay, because it is ultimately, it's a game. You know, it's a sim. And I personally prefer playing pretty realistically, fairly realistically. I mean, I've seen sim farmers that are more realistic, but I've seen a lot of sim farmers that are less realistic and seem to be having a lot more fun than me and the realistic farmers. So we have to do two things here. We have to get that set right about there, put it back in gear, set the brake. Here's course play, and this is field 3. Just confirming. Field 3, like so. 2 headlands, because this thing's pretty wide. All right, thinking. And here we go. Now, here's the tricky part. We're going to do proceed. We're going to do proceed auto. Right? Proceed auto, and we are on 36 meter. Okay. And here's what we need to do. First off, did I not reverse that? I did not. Set the brake. Cancel the course. Field 3. Reverse that. Here we go. Thinking. Generating. Okay. So we are right there. So here's my concern. I want to lay in tram lines, and I want to do it with course play. Now, course play and proceed don't necessarily talk to each other. Some mods do, some mods don't. Like course play and the Gearbox talk to each other, but I believe they're made by the same mod. Really? Okay. But I believe they're made by the same modder. I think they're both made by Mowgli. So that would make sense, right? But I don't know if course play and proceed talk to one another, and for that reason it's difficult to have course play. Well, I guess it's not really on course play. I guess it's more on proceed. I guess it's more difficult to get proceed to lay in tram lines when you're using course play. So we're going to do kind of a hybrid here. And we're going to get course play started. There it is. We're going to get course play started. And then we're going to pause it and turn tram lines on after it comes out of this little zigzag area right here. Reason being, I think this area is sort of narrow enough, right? The east to west width, I think it's narrow enough that we won't need tram lines back here because our headland tram line will cover that. Does that make sense? In my head it does, but in my head a lot of things make sense. So get this right in here, and I'm going to turn this off. We're going to start at first waypoint. We're going to swap this over to wheat. We are full of seed. Okay, here we go. Deactivate. So I think you'll see what I'm saying. I hope you see what I'm saying in a second. What I'm getting at is, like, this width right now, if we're looking left to right, I believe this width is narrow enough, shallow enough, that when we do our headland with the boom sprayer, that it's going to cover the width of this. In other words, that is less than approximately 70 meters, which is 36 and 36, right? 2 widths of our boom sprayer, I think, maybe. And for that reason, we would not need, unless it's on. Is it on? Unless I just screwed up and it's already putting in tram lines. I guess we'll find out in a second here. Which is not, it's not the end of the world if it does. I just don't want it yet. I wanted to wait till we get to the wider part. Course play, I have to say, particularly when you're using, like, this is a base game. Yeah, we are putting in tram lines at the moment. Okay, you know what? That's not terrible. And it will at least let us see if it's working properly. All right, so it goes. So, well, yeah, no, that'll work. That's okay. So if this works properly, and I have no guarantee that it will, but if this works properly, we'll have tram lines across this entire field, and then we'll probably have to manually turn the inner headland tram line on, because it may be, when you have it proceed on auto, every time it raises and lowers the drill, that it counts that as one cycle, and it lays in a tram line every third cycle. So if the drill dropping for that inner headland is not on cycle number 2, right, the center row, then it won't put in a tram line. I think, yeah, made sense in my head, as always. So we'll see here, but either way, I mean, if it goes totally tits up, I'll just go back in and fix it manually. Not a big deal. So we've got our 3300 plowing. We've got our 900 drilling wheat. Now there's a reason we're drilling wheat, and I'll get to that in a second. I just want to see, like, no. Can't wait. Terry Knott, we're busy. I was going to wait till that got over to the wide part of the field, but that's probably going to be 5 or 10 minutes, and we're already 10 minutes into the video. Wow, man, time flies. It really, really does. And that sort of ties in with what I was saying earlier. I can't believe it's been 2 years that I've been on FS17 and 2.5 years I've been on Farm Sim. And I know to some people it's like, well, yeah, so what, man? It's just a video game. Yeah, it is. But it's like anything else, man. It's like golf or, I don't know, all the things that people do. If it's important to you, then that's your thing. It's not a big deal. But it's been 2 years already, yeah. Time flies. And you know what else is weird is to think back to, like, what you were doing when something happened. I don't know if you do that. I do that sometimes. But to think about, like, how I got into Farm Sim accidentally, you know that story. And just how it's evolved from how I was playing FS15. And I have to say, I was even kind of bummed when FS17 came out, because I had so many mods for FS15. And it was like, I don't want to give up all my toys. And it's, we've got some tractor problems on this map, actually. And when we head over to the other side of the map to drop this broadcast spreader off, I will tell you about them. But yeah, we've got some mod problems, not mod conflict. We've got mod problems in that we have access to too many mods. We have an abundance of riches, yo. We've got option paralysis. I have more cool mods that I want to use than I have need to use them. So I'm trying not to just, like, shoehorn equipment into this map, you know what I mean? Especially because we're getting to the end of 17. I don't just want to, like, just use whatever we want. I'm trying to be realistic, somewhat realistic, although I know the equipment that we have on this map is probably a lot bigger than we need it to be. But I'm trying to have a little bit of fun and still keep it somewhat realistic. Speaking of somewhat realistic, yes, this is a biofuel refinery in the middle of a grass field. There is a placeable area over by the store, but this didn't fit in it. Even though this is the mini refinery, it looks pretty maxy to me. And what you got to do is you put silage in right here, and out of it you get digestate and biofuel. There's a biofuel tanker that you can use, although I think you can use one of the regular tankers from the Coda Universal Pack, but I get the specific biogas trailer because it's got the logo on it and everything. It just looks cool. Haul it with a lorry, which we have. Another reason I got this, because I want to make use of that MAN lorry that we got and not just use it to haul our slurry Bowser, I guess, slurry tanker. So we got this thing. I put it here because it didn't fit on the other side. Now, we've got, and I guess you could see that when I was showing you field 5. We've got grass fields all down around here, and they weren't too expensive, so I went ahead and got them. I bought all of these. I fertilized 7, 6, and 2. We still need to fertilize field 4. We're going to do that right now. We have our rock spreader on the 800. Yeah, the 800. And we'll get this spread with pellet. Then we're going to head over to the farm. Drop this off at, I got something else over there that will, as always, hopefully make sense. Oh, and all these fields, obviously, because we're fertilizing them, all these grass fields are crop grass rather than meadow grass, so they can be fertilized up to the triple level. So there is no BGA on this map. However, there is a there are places to ferment silage, to cook it, and there are also now for the grass fields, there's 2 ways we can do it. One way we can do it is we can bale the grass and wrap it and let it set on the field, because you can put whole silage bales into the refinery. The other way we can do it is we can take all this grass and put it in a bunker silo and let it cook. And I know those are on the map. For me, it's a little bit more convenient to make the silage bales and then just pick them up, particularly because all of our grass fields are so close to the refinery, to just pick them up. And even like field 2, the refinery is in the field. It's not realistic, but that's where it ended up. So we could literally just pick them up, cart them across the field on the Cloth Scorpion, right, on our telehandler. We wouldn't even need to put them on a trailer. It would be as quick to just take them across the field and drop them in the refinery as it would to put them on a trailer, take them across the field, take them off the trailer, and drop them in the refinery. So no worries there. And these other fields, probably a little bit too far away to just carry them over with the telehandler. We would need to put them on a trailer, but still, it's all on this side of the map. We wouldn't be making multiple trips back and forth across the map with the trailer. So I was going to put canola in field 3, but I switched it up at the last second because we've got access to, we don't own one yet, but we've got access to a Claas Jaguar with a whole crop header, right? It's got grass headers, it's got corn headers, but it's also got a whole crop header. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. In that sometimes you can harvest a green crop with one of those whole crop headers, sometimes you cannot. I think it depends on how the fill values are put into the map. Makes sense? So it may work, it may not. If it doesn't work, I mean, I would probably rent that Jaguar anyway because it's so expensive. It's like 400,000 pounds. But that's what I want to do with that wheat. I want to harvest that wheat as a whole crop, as chaff, and take it to the bunker to cook. So it could be a hybrid. It could be that we will convert these grass fields to bales and wrap them and let them cook in the fields, and then we'll convert that wheat field to chaff when we harvest it as a whole crop. That is the plan in broad strokes. That refinery, I wouldn't say it gives us, I mean, we're not going to be totally OP, but it's a pretty profitable venture to have that refinery. The fuel cells for, it's a fortune. And you can also, I believe, no, that is something else. There is another refinery for canola, which I may also put in that field. And that one you can actually fill your vehicles with the biofuel that it creates. The biogas, the refinery that we have right now, it is a gas, like a, not a fuel gas, it's a gas, like a, scientific liquid solid gas. It's a gas. But the canola refinery actually makes fuel that you can put into your tractors. So if we wanted to go green, if we wanted to reduce our carbon footprint and be good bio-independent, energy independent farmers, we could get that canola refinery going. Sorry, my brain just stopped for a second right there. We could get that canola refinery going as well, and we would be, I don't know, we'd be making money, and we'd also be moving toward energy independence. Now, the downside to the canola refinery is its other byproduct is pig food, pig forage, and we don't have any pigs, and that's my intention is to have no animals on this map. And one of the ways that I always get in trouble on my farms is, whoa, I've got a key combo to turn a tool on and off, and one of the keys that it uses is the key combo to get in and out of the tractor, which is why I am constantly falling out of the tractor. The buttons on, I'm using a Razer Wildcat Tournament gamepad, and the buttons on this thing are, I mean, I don't do like FPS gaming, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to shoot nobody, but apparently that's what it's set up for, because the buttons are incredibly sensitive. Maybe a little too sensitive for farming. So that's how I get myself in trouble on maps, is unintended consequences. I'm always like, oh, well, what if we, and then next thing you know, it's just... So I don't want to get pigs just to use one of the byproducts of our canola refinery. But that may be exactly what we end up doing. Right. Because I always forget. Let me turn my lights off. There we go. Because I always forget to do that. I don't think this gate closes. I think that's decorative. That is decorative. There is no gate down there. Okay. We are driving to the other side of the map. Here we go. So yeah, now how did we afford that refinery? I sold that Ford transport truck, and there's a couple reasons I did. One reason is there's no versatility to it. Really, all you can do with it is use it as a tipper. So that makes it, in essence, like a 400,000 pound tipper. And that's not a smart way to use money. We did take a bit of a hit when we sold it because we had it for a minute, but I still felt like that was the smart play. I also, honestly, I didn't like the textures on it. They seemed kind of fake. They were too glossy, and they weren't picking up any dust or dirt at all. So I had concerns about it, and I figured, look, we'd rather have the money now and the money later than the tipper now. And as big as this farm is, I think we might end up, steer clear, chicken. We might end up using our lorry and using a big 50 or 60,000 liter tractor trailer tipper on that lorry rather than one towed behind a tractor. Although there are some small fields as well, which we'll get to in a second. So that's the sort of the lay of the land right now. By selling that Ford Transport, we were able to pay our loan off and buy that refinery. And we're still broke. We have 8,000 pounds. I don't know if we'll be able to make it through the summer without adding something to our loan. And I guess, well, that sort of leads to the second thing, is at the moment, we have 6 tractors. I'm going to sell at least 2 of them, possibly 3 of them. But I got another Zarian. And the reason I got a Zarian, well, like always, I saw a mod, and then it just took on sort of, I don't want to say a life of its own, but it's like, oh yeah, let me check that mod out. Can we make that work on our map? We don't really need it. It's just cool. And that, I guess, for me is conflict, maybe? Is conflict too strong a word? That, for me, is one of the conflicts is, are we having fun and playing a game, or is this a realistic thing? And with FS17 getting ready to wind down, and knowing how I felt at the end of FS15, when I had all those mods and I just more or less had to let them go because they didn't convert over. Although some of them did eventually get ported in, but to start with, they weren't there, and it sucked to let them go. So I guess I'm sort of using mods that I normally wouldn't, just so we can kind of use them before we have to let them go for a while. That makes sense. And like I said in episode 1, I said it in our first and our second episode 1, we've never used Klaus in a series. And even though it doesn't necessarily belong on a British map, although, you know, with global trade being what it is, maybe you'd find one there. I don't know. Let's go ahead and use some of this big equipment. So I got another Zarian, and I think what I'm going to do is sell the 3300, probably the 3300 and the 900. And that will, at least horsepower-wise, I think that will give us a decent spread of tractors. Although there's still, the Zarian, by going with the small engines, I sort of keep the ridiculous factor down. They're not overly powerful, but they are very often just too wide. It's too wide for this farm. Okay, so this is the other thing that we got. We got a little... Oh, well, as you can see, we've made some improvements on the farm. I did get the workshop. I did install the AdBlue DEF pad. I haven't loaded it yet. I still need to bring the little Bowser over here and fill that up. And I got, I can't really see it. Yeah, it's right there on the corner of that shed. I got the power washer, which I never use. I really don't. I never use it. It's a shame. So we got this little Limpkin. Oh, it's 3 meter, 4 meter, but it's small. And I got it for field 11. We'll probably use it in field 5 because it has all those tight ins and outs, you know? So I think this makes sense. Now, right in between the two is the 6 meter that we used on Upton. And I want to say, where else were we using it? Where else did we try to use it? I forget. I feel like there was another map where we tried to use that modular Limpkin. It's a super cool mod. I really like it. But, like I was just saying a second ago, there's so many mods. I want to use them all. I don't necessarily want to, even though I do have sort of favorite equipment, I don't necessarily want to use the same equipment over and over. I want to mix it up a little bit, and that's how we ended up with that other Zari. So we'll sell the 3300. We will sell the 900. That'll leave us 4 tractors. I think on this map, that's reasonable. I think that's going to be okay. And this thing is, well, I think the 6 meter modular would have been probably the most realistic and most appropriate fit. But, like I said, we've used it, and so it goes. So, there's that. Pop right back in there. And we'll need to go through the court here, and then we will be at field 11. And we can get this going. And what we'll probably do, is go down and check on the 900 and the big Limpkin drill. See how that's doing. Set the brake. Course play. This is field 11. This is field 11. Confirming. So we're going to do fertilizing and seeding. Field 11. 11. There it is. Auto width. Yep. 3 meters. That's pretty narrow. We'll do 3 headlands because it is kind of short, so we need some room to turn around. Generate course. Where are we going to start? We're going to start right over there. Now, did it put an offset in? It looks like there's an offset. There is not. Just looking a little funny. All right. So we will be able to stay. Oh, that's nice. We can stay on the grass verge. We don't have to cross our cultivated field. Always nice. can also tell you that more realistic updated in the mod hub. And I feel like tractors are accelerating a little slower and a little smoother. Turn the field. Let's get some speed. There you go. Lights are off. That's odd. I guess 7:45 makes sense. Okay. So there he goes. And more wheat. Right. So what did we want to do? We wanted to check on the 900 series. See how it goes. And then we will... How are we doing on time? 31 minutes. Perfect. We'll check on the 900, and then I think we'll run across to the store, and I will show you the changes that I made over there. So you saw the refinery that we installed. You saw the workshop and the AdBlue pump that we installed. AdBlue station. That's not actually a pump. The AdBlue station that we installed at the farm. You know, we've got our slurry spigot down here at the dairy farm. So we'll go over to the store. I'll show you the last placeable items that I installed, and then we'll call it an episode, I think. That should be about 40 minutes. Yeah, that's about right. It's about right. Good length for an episode. And I'm trying to close gates. Now, as I was driving back and forth from the store to this side, because I had to make multiple trips back and forth, bringing that pellet spreader over, just various, not a big deal, but driving back and forth. I did look, I guess, a little bit more diligently for the, and is this, this gate is, okay, that's decorative. And is this one? That one is real. Okay. Oh, but we've got our 3300 down there. Can't quite close that yet. As I was driving back and forth to look for the, what is it here? Driving back and forth looking for the shortcut that is kind of a hallmark of Lancyboi maps. I didn't really find it. There are some cuts from like the store to the dairy farm, I guess. Field 27, field 29, straight across there. There are some cutoffs, but he's not going in a circle, is he? Oh, course play. Oh, course play. Oh. Woo-sa. Woo-sa. This game, man, I'll tell you what. Yep. I assume it's been doing that the entire time. More or less. Okay. So, where would we go from there? I guess we'd go out to here. Hey, glad I came over and checked. Right. Right, so we will, let's see, go here, nearest, there you go. We're going to turn these off, there you go. Right, so let's go down here and see how its spread did for the rows that it did do. And we'll see how it did on tram lines. Right. Oh, and I did, what was it? Was it field 9, I want to say, was the one that had the, I didn't set the width of the tool properly. So that's 1, 2, 3, tram line. Okay. 1, 2, 3, tram line. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Trim line. Looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. Trim line. Trim line. I don't know. I don't know. Looks pretty good. We'll just go with it. It's too late now. And yeah, man, that's interesting. Oh, okay. This is areas that our subsoiler missed. That's interesting. So this will direct drill into a plowed field, but it will not sort of cultivate, I guess. Huh, okay. Interesting. Let's hop back in here. And that is a trem line row. So this next one is not. The next one will not be, and then the one after that will be. So maybe we'll stick around and just see if that's going to go in okay. But this is, as big as this field is, yeah, for me anyway, the bigger a field is, the better it looks with tram lines, I think. So what was I keep interrupting myself, and then I'm like not making any sense. Well, anyway, I don't know. Not important. Let me hit the vape and see if it comes back to me. Moment, please. I will say that this field, as long as it took for our 3.7 meter plow to get it done, I mean, this thing is 12 meters, so what is that, 3 times the width? And I think it's going a bit faster. So, I know when we were up at field 11, I mentioned more realistic. It just updated in the mod hub. And, you know, I've never fully understood more realistic. I know you can have a more realistic tractor. You can patch in. Let's get down here, and I don't think this will be a problem. Let's get it out of the way just the same. I know you can put in a custom profile for more realistic in a mod, but I don't know if a mod or vehicle, I mean, I know more realistic covers all the base game vehicles automatically, and then you can write your own program, like your own profile, when you create a mod for a tractor or something for more realistic, or an implement or a tool, anything. Let me start this. Move that up. Lights on, brake off. And let's get this out of the way. I know you can create a custom profile, but what I've never understood is if you don't create a custom profile, will more realistic have any effect on that tractor at all? And depending on how I read the thread on the support page, the answer is yes, maybe, but also no. So I don't know. But it seems like all tractors, I don't want to park in front of the gate, I don't want to park in the tree, I don't want to back up a dolly trailer. Concentrating, really concentrating. That's going to have to be close enough. No. Yes. There we go. Right. Lights off. Let's see how this thing's doing. Did it already come down to make a turn? Wow, sure did. Okay. This thing is making tracks. And it's okay. It seems to be doing okay on the tram lines. Now, where are we at? 39 minutes. This is what I'll do. I'm going to run like the devil himself. I'm going to run over to the store, show you the other things that we did. I'm going to end the episode and then hop back in this tractor, and hopefully I get to it before it starts its inner headland, and we can get the timing on that right. Okay. So let me over here. I see a gap in the hedge. I do. Yeah, I think there is a shortcut, but it involves opening and closing so many gates, and I try to be, I try to close gates, and I feel like by doing that, we lose any time that we may have gained by taking a shortcut. Is that by design? Is it intended that way? I don't know. I do like this map, though. I think I'm going to close down Maplewood when we finish up Harvest next week after. I think I'm going to wrap up Maplewood. I think I'm going to keep Herman's Eck and Thornbrook going when we get into FS19. Because FS19, as somebody pointed out to me, when it starts, it's not going to have any mod content, and that's really not going to be how we get down. Stay away from that golden nugget. Going the wrong way. There we go. It's not going to have a lot of mod content, and I whether the game is good or not, as spoiled as we are by mods, I don't think that base game is really going to be the novelty of a new farm sim will be awesome, but I have a feeling it's going to wear off after an episode or two. So I want to keep some FS17 maps going even after we have access to FS19. And I think the two that make the most sense are this one, Thornbrook, and also Herman's Eck. And now if it goes the other way, if FS19 is just unbelievable from day one, hop one more fence, hop. If it's awesome from day one, then maybe we'll just wrap these up a little sooner. But so it goes. Right, so this is a placeable area. We could not fit the whole refinery here, but I did put the storage facility here. These all look great at night, by the way. Really good lighting. And then there's a sell point for it, which is hop right back here, placeable as well. So this is the cell trigger for the biofuel, the biogas that you create. Haul it over there in the tanker. We'll go back to the store. I'll show you two other things. Save game. And then we are right at 45 minutes. Perfect. So I have yet to decide. Well, I don't even know if that whole crop forage header will work on wheat. If it doesn't, we're going to have a ton of wheat to sell. But there's worse things. And then, what was the other? As far as where we're going to cook it. So this is the AdBlue pump, the actual pump where you buy it. And this is just a little fuel station, which also looks great at night. Very old school. So right on. That's it. That's all I got, folks. Thanks for stopping back to check out The Portable Gamer. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Farming Simulator 17 from Thornbrook Farm. And we'll see you next time. Take care now.